Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt your regularly scheduled programming to bring you this special bulletin. Palworld is dying, or at least it kind of feels like what some of these articles are trying to get across to you. There's a couple of articles I want to go in. I really want to just put this into a bit of a perspective, because if you look at this article from Game Rant, just the title alone, Palworld has lost 1.5 million players. That's a lot, but fans shouldn't panic. Fans aren't panicking. Fans understand what they bought. Fans understand the game that is in front of them and the fun that they're having. But if you see a title like 1.5 million players lost, okay, let's put that into perspective, shall we? Because articles like this, people will see an article like this and they'll see the title and go, ha ha ha. At least the haters, the detractors of Palworld, saying that it's a copycat of Pokemon. They stole assets, blah, even though there's no proof. But hey, a lot of repetition going on. Why do you make articles like this? Why do I make videos like this? Again, simply to put things into perspective. Hope you'd come along with me for the ride. Palworld seems to have lost a sizable portion of its initial player base because a game came out. It became a hit strictly by word of mouth. That is definitely something you need to take into account. Strictly by word of mouth, this game had 2.1 million concurrent players at one time. It's been out for 3 weeks. 2.1 million. That's a lot. For lack of a better term, that's a lot. And to lose 1.5 million players, well, let's see. So you're saying that on a regular basis during the week, you'll have 500,000 people playing this game, a mostly single-player open-world survival game. Do you really have an idea of what that means? There are game developers out there, games as service developers out there that would, for lack of a better term, cream themselves. Thanks. At those numbers, they're begging for those numbers because that's popularity. 500,000 players. There are games out there that haven't had 500,000 concurrent players at their maximum, at their peak. But let's see. Palworld, a popular open-world survival game, has seen a decline in its player count from 2.1 million to around 500,000. That's the kind of decline developers, again, that's the sort of decline developers want, they beg for. 2 million people are playing their game, their initially single-player game, early access game, but now, oh no, only 500,000 people are playing. Despite the drop, Palworld remains one of the most popular games on Steam and continues to be in the top-selling and top-played categories. It's in the top 5. I've checked it multiple days this week, and I'll show you. Oh no, I closed that one. It's been in the top 5. Generally sits around number 3. After Counter-Strike, PUBG. Let's see, it's fighting with Counter-Strike, PUBG, Dota 2, and another game that I can't remember. But it's been staying pretty strong and heavy at number 3 on Steam. This article from Forbes has Paul Tassi talking about Palworld has lost 2/3 of its players in 2 weeks. Not just on the surface, that alone looks like the sky is falling. But again, it's a single-player game. He wrote this article at the beginning of the week, at the time of this recording, on the 17th of February. He recorded this. The article was published on February 11th and republished on February 12th. This is not a Palworld is doomed post. And then, people see the title of this article and they immediately think 2/3 of its players. That's a big chunk. Now, if you only started with 100,000 and you're dropping down to 33,000 people playing, that's pretty, that's doom and gloom. But that's not the case. Let's go down to his little update down here. I wanted to talk a little bit more about my core premise here, the idea of whether or not Palworld has legs. People are going to disagree with you on this one, Paul. While no, I would not at all expect it to explode into a long-term competitor to Pokemon. Why not? Why can't it be a competitor to Pokemon? I think that's what we need more of. More competitors to major franchises such as Pokemon out there, giving players what they've been begging Nintendo and Game Freak and the Pokemon Company, begging them to give them in a Pokemon game. An open world, slightly online. It doesn't have to be a massive MMO. Just a game, a Pokemon game that you can play with your friends with all the Pokemon in it. And maybe, just maybe, Nintendo release it on PC. If anything else, maybe Palworld can open up Nintendo and the Pokemon Company's eyes to realize that, hey, there is a massive market out there of players that you can just print money. Take this as a warning. This is what players want. Open your eyes, open your ears, and open your developers to something new. The PC market, it's there, it's massive. Do it. I do think mass potential is there all the same. In the wake of this article, I heard a lot of, oh, well, everyone figured out the game is bad and the content runs dry. No, that's not even remotely, because if that were the case, you wouldn't have 531,000 people playing at 9:30 a.m. Central on a Saturday. Sure, it's a Saturday, it's a weekend, but it's still 9:30 in the morning Central where I am. That's a lot of players playing at one time. This is the peak 24-hour period. 500,000 players. 500,000 people are playing Palworld right now. That's a lot. Again, there are developers out there who would be chomping at the bit for those kind of numbers, for half of those numbers with their game. But for some reason, we get articles like this. Let's see. Rather, even if 2/3 of players left, a remaining 750,000 concurrent on a given night, in the middle of the week, mind you. I was looking at some of the numbers on Palworld on a Tuesday, on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and they were still hitting 400 to 500,000. That is a success. 3 weeks out, again, I keep saying this, it is primarily a single-player game in early access. There is a limited amount of things to do. Sure, you can go out and make a new base, start a new game and make a new base. You can breed your pals to get the bestest ever. You can go out and capture all the bosses, all the legendaries, and do all these things. But after a while, there's nothing left to do. Sure, it's a survival game, and there's always something you can give yourself things to do in this sort of open world sandbox. But ultimately, you're going to have players who check it out, being an early access game, see if they like it, and then just wait for the next content update. Bug fixes, bug patches aren't really going to boost the numbers for a game like this. It's going to have to be, let's say, when they add more pals, or when they add PvP, or when they add like the sleds and all the other things that you saw in the trailer. Those sort of content patches will make these numbers double at least with players coming back. So let's see. To suddenly be I think the main question here is the ability to scale, to suddenly be burdened with a game this successful this quickly using such a small, inexperienced team is extremely difficult. I'm not going to disagree with him on this one. The developers for Palworld, I'm sure, there's no doubt they had no idea this game was going to be that successful that quickly. And with that sort of influx of money, they're going to have to get some experience in teaching a lot more developers on how to add and implement changes to the game. Let's see, sure, the sales are great, but you then have to figure out how to manage and grow the game forward. But see, that's a problem for any other developer out there. It will be interesting to see how Pocket Pair handles this. Pocket Pair has already talked about adding not just new gear and pals, but also an entire PvP system. Sure, work on it. Put it in. Something they said they struggled immensely during development, ultimately decided to launch without one in early access. Sure, this now gives them time and resources to work on it in a more patient way, I guess, for lack of a better term. To manage the current game and push that out in a reasonable time frame will be difficult. Just as difficult for any other company out there. We know Microsoft is helping them scale with additional support to optimize the game, but more generally, Pocket Pair is trying to staff up quickly to build out the game. And honestly, that's what I find the most exciting. They want to support this game if they're telling the truth. Again, if they support this game the way they claim, it's going to be successful. Is it going to be as successful? Is this a Pokemon killer? No, it's not. Nobody thinks it's a Pokemon killer. I can't imagine anyone coming out and genuinely saying that Palworld is going to kill Pokemon. It's like, no. That game has a dedicated fan base, a very fervent fan base, vocal fan base coming out, and they will never give it up no matter how much Game Freak and Nintendo don't give the players what they want, no matter how much copy-paste games they do out every single year, every other year, every third year, whatever, because they're all the same. My hope, I think I've said this already, my hope is that, hey, Pocket Pair and Palworld opens up the eyes of the Pokemon developers, gets them to realize that give players what they want. Over here, we still love you. Palworld commented on losing 2/3 of its players. Poor terminology. You don't lose players in a single-player game. They just stop playing. They finish the game. It's more the amount in sales in a single-player game, primarily single-player game. Yes, I know you can play online with your friends and have your own dedicated service and all that other stuff. Yes, but primarily, at its core, Palworld is more of a single-player game than a multiplayer game. Let's say 2-to-1. Not 2-to-1. 2/3. 1/3 multiplayer, 2/3 single player. Do you agree? Let me know in the comments. Haven't seen, let's say, if you've been living under a rock. Yeah, if you've been living under a rock for the past 3 weeks, you have no idea what's going on. Let's see, the manager discussed the articles concerning Palworld's numbers, referring to the, quote, emerging Palworld has lost X% of its players-based discourse as lazy and he coming out firing. Lazy and noting that it is perfectly fine to take breaks from games from time to time. Yes. Sitting there claiming that, oh no, Palworld is failing because it lost this many players. Again, let's go back to this. Let's go ahead and refresh this in real time. Let's see. 531. Yeah. 531,000 people playing this game right now. That's not a failure. That's not losing. Quote, you don't need to feel bad about that. Palworld, like many games before it, isn't in a position to pump out massive amounts of new content on a weekly basis. New content will come, yay, and it's going to be awesome. Please make it so. But these things take a little time. Finally, Bucky is the Palworld and Craftopia community manager. There are so many amazing games out there to play. You don't need to feel guilty. Who's feeling guilty about hopping from game to game? What? If you are still playing Palworld, we love you. Oh, we love you too, Bucky. If you're not playing Palworld, we still love you. And we hope you'll come back for round 2 when you're playing lots of games, try different genres, and frequently flick through the indie libraries to find hidden gems. Yeah. I think more and more people are going to the indie market because you have atrocities like Skull and Bones trying to sell that game for $70. Suicide Squad kills the Justice League, which is an embarrassment to video game writing and dialogue. My goodness. Even went back and forced myself to try out a little bit of the Saints Row reboot. Gonna make a video on that one, because is it possible for dialogue to destroy an entertaining game? And I'm gonna say yes, because I'm going to save it for the video. But anyway, Palworld is dying. Palworld is losing. The single-player experience is dying, at least if you want to listen to some of these articles like this. It lost 2/3 of its players, and yet it's still at 531,000 concurrent players. These are numbers that developers dream of. But anyway, what do you think about all this nonsense? Sure, I don't know how many more Palworld videos I'm going to be making, but hey, if more news comes out, more nonsense behind the scenes comes out, if you're watching this video, you know the game is fun. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know, but I appreciate you making it this far nonetheless. Let me know what you think in the comments. Leave a like, leave a dislike. Do all those nifty little things that YouTubers beg you to do, and I hope to see you on the next one. Bye-bye.